Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching 8th part of What If Naruto Was Fallen Emperor of Outworld. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
The Fire Daimyo watched his city from the balcony of his castle, from which he ruled the entire country. The Fire Daimyo felt a sudden sense of dread wash over him as he watched the outside world before him, and he wondered what it meant for him. Why was he experiencing this sensation right now? Was his country on the verge of being attacked? His residence? I should put my standard army of samurai on high alert just to be safe, the Fire Daimyo thought as he went to inform one of his captains of the order. Before an explosion violently rocked his castle and shook it to its core. Shocked by this action, the Fire Daimyo ran back to the balcony to find a massive army of shinobi breaching his castle's outer defense wall. The breach was caused by a massive dragon made of what appeared to be a tree. The alarm was soon raised, with the samurai attempting to prevent the invading shinobi from approaching their daimyo. Unfortunately for them, the invading force, led by none other than Shao Kahn himself, was violently pushing them back. Repelling samurai left and right, with a few Konoha shinobi attempting to assist the samurai but being killed by Suigetsu and Jugo in a semi-psychotic state. Guren's bloodline caused crystals to shoot from the ground and pierce the enemy from behind. Break them. You'll only leave bloody stains in your wake. Shao Kahn said as he swung his weapon at a samurai, sending him into the castle itself. That was no problem for his forces. Fire Country had acted superior to the other countries for years, flexing their muscles and commanding weaker nations to conform to their way of thinking. Those who did not comply were invaded. Conquered with shinobi before being taken over by samurai under the guise of keeping the peace after the shinobi left. However, they did little to keep the peace, killing protesters, instilling fear in those unsure of what to do, and making natives' lives a living nightmare. Fire Country broke international laws or found loopholes in them while accusing everyone else of doing the same. It was blatant hypocrisy. But now they had a chance to stop it. Put an end to the corrupt country, its leaders, nobles, and politicians who had caused them trouble. For the entire world. The Fire Daimyo, the Hokage, and the country's shinobi had plunged the world into a violent war, claiming that Kami was on their side and calling everyone else a non-believer. That the will of fire they preached about would purge those who did not believe in their just cause, while sparing those who did. They had omitted the section in which they would decide who was worthy and who was not. It didn't matter any longer. Not with all the Jinchuriki, multiple cage-level shinobi, and their massive army of high-level shinobi behind them destroying every defense leading to the very capital of Fire Country. Shao Kahn, on the other hand, was experiencing a strange sense of déjà vu at this moment, as he felt he had done this before at a different point in his life, but the man didn't know where. Though, if he were honest with himself, it didn't matter where this déjà vu came from, and he just kept fighting. Hyuga Hinata, not far from him, was covering his right flank with precise gentle fist strikes to her opponents, sending them flying back a broken, bleeding mess that few could survive when hit. To his left, Anko was unleashing her own fury on the enemy, and it was clear the woman had lost all loyalty to Konoha, let alone Fire Country. Not surprising when you have loyal agents in Konoha who know how to get things that appear untouchable, and 3 such agents managed to obtain Tsunade's prized journal. Shao Kahn's writings revealed to Anko what Tsunade and Konoha thought of her, even after they cleared her name for turning on Uzumaki Naruto when ordered to do so all those years ago. Mitarashi Anko is so deafeningly deafening, she is so desperate for love that she will accept it from anyone. When I gave the order, she even managed to hurt the brat by tearing into his flesh. When I explained it to her, she didn't even hesitate, and while we didn't kill the monster, we gained Anko's undying loyalty in the process. All things considered, it's a small second-place trophy, but one I'm willing to accept. Ha. Inoichi's psyche evaluation of her was spot on when it came to hurting anyone in order to gain acceptance from the general public. While I intend to keep my end of the deal I made with her, that does not mean she should be restrained by such a strong leash. Orochimaru assures me that her curse seal is useless to her, but it can help us control Anko if she starts acting against us. Naturally, we told Anko that removing the curse seal was impossible because it was a defective prototype, and that she would have to live with it for the rest of her natural life. A perfect lie if ever there was one, as Anko is useless to Orochimaru in taking her body because it is too old for him to use if he ever needs one. I've talked to Iruka about her and convinced him to pretend to be interested in Anko in order to secure her even further within Konoha. Her abilities could be used against us in the future if we aren't careful, and I don't want Anko to have second thoughts about Konoha. Besides, everyone wins because Anko's blind loyalty to us is absolute, Iruka gets laid, and Anko herself feels loved. Though I and a few others are well aware that this is far from the case. Iruka doesn't care about her any more than I do, and all I care about is that she can perform the necessary duties of her station. If she discovers that we could have helped her at any time and did nothing until recently to secure the woman's loyalty, it will be disastrous. I don't expect the woman to know about this, and if she does, I have several trusted Anbu on standby to restrain her, while Inoichi has orders to reprogram the woman for other tasks that are appropriate for the woman's body. If Anko's ability to be a Konoha shinobi is ever jeopardized, I will make certain that her many offspring do not make the same mistakes. That page alone had been written weeks after Uzumaki Naruto's failed execution and had secured Anko's loyalty to Shao Kahn. No more battling him. No more imagining ways to get rid of his seal. No more wishing to return to Konoha, where her loyalty to them had been nothing more than a big fat lie the size of a giant expanded Akamichi on steroids. Now she truly belonged to Shao Kahn. In mind, body, and spirit, she belonged to the demonic entity. Anko had practically thrown herself at Shao Kahn in all her naked glory just yesterday, pleading to be taken in his bed, loved, and fucked by the man to take the pain away. It was only because of his power that she wasn't in excruciating pain after the battle with the Fire Daimyo's forces. The bed they were using had not been so fortunate, but it died in a way that many beds, if they could be remotely sentient, would be proud to go out like that, and be called heroes to their kin. If Shao Kahn and the other women in his life had used the bed, it would have lasted much longer. So be it. The Fire Daimyo is among them. Inside, I sense him being surrounded by some of his samurai and Konoha shinobi. Karen used her sensory abilities on the castle to locate the Fire Daimyo and where the majority of the people would be heading at the top of the structure. Hashirama. Tobirama. Bring me the Fire Daimyo. Shao Kahn knew that once he had the Fire Daimyo, the enemy would either surrender or flee the castle grounds. Shao Kahn-sama, yes. Before they sprang into action, Hashirama and Tobirama said the same thing. First, Hashirama carved large hollow wood tunnels deep within the castle to resemble a children's fun slide. Only on a much larger scale. Tobirama then used his mastery of water to cause a massive wall of it to converge on the castle from the other side, filling the structure with water and literally flushing its occupants out. Because of Hashirama's multiple wooden tubs on each level of the castle, the vast majority of those on those levels would be shot into the tubes, where they would be on the ground level with two former Hokages waiting for their intended target. And sure enough, the Fire Daimyo emerged from one of the tubes, drenched in water and soaking wet. Hashirama and Tobirama scowled in disgust at the sight of the man. Both former Hokages knew this man's grandfather and even his father when he was a child. The former was a physically and mentally strong man. He was a man who kept himself in shape, and the latter was being molded to look like him when they were both alive at the time. But this daimyo. It is said that a daimyo can be seen in this state. Doesn't it, sir? Tobirama said this while picking up what felt like a 90-pound man soaked through by his drenched clothing. Brother, I agree. His grandfather, the Daimyo, would be ashamed of him. It's beyond me how this man's father allowed him to become so frail, remarked Hashirama before grabbing the fire Daimyo, and the two quickly brought him to Shao Kahn's feet. Almost immediately, the opposition stopped fighting. Hello there, fire Daimyo. You know I know who you are, but I have to wonder. Do you know who I am? Questioned Shao Kahn, with the fire daimyo's forces still on guard against any further attacks and his own forces remaining on the defensive for the time being. You are Jinchuriki Kyubi. The weapon of Konoha. The weapon of country, stated the fire daimyo before delivering a vicious backhand. The answer is incorrect. Please try again, Shao Kahn, the fire daimyo whimpering at how he had been hit, stated. You are Konoha's pet, said the fire daimyo, but his tone had changed from regal to weak. Shao Kahn's reaction was to slam his wrath hammer into the man's shoulder. Crunch. In pain, the fire daimyo screamed, "Ah!" Try again, exclaimed Shao Kahn, his patience on this fool getting thing wearing thin. You are Wave Country's daimyo. Shao Kahn, you are, the fire daimyo whimpered, Shao Kahn smirked. Good. I, Shao Kahn, Conqueror of Realms, hereby declare that Fire Country has been dissolved. The land will be divided equally among its neighbors, and any nobles or supporters of this whimpering waste of space will be executed on sight. There are no excuses, Shao Kahn stated as the fire daimyo looked at him weakly. You will be stopped by Konoha. They cannot be defeated so easily by people like you, Shao Kahn laughed amusedly as the fire daimyo whispered. I take it Konoha hasn't told you about the latest in their long list of defeats and losses at my hands? Shao Kahn, amused, inquired. What are the losses? All you've done is prevent my forces from capturing Wave Country and destroy my naval yard, the fire daimyo replied while gripping his shoulder, which was clearly damaged beyond repair. I've already dispatched 2 of their 3 Sannin. The former Yandaime Hokage is also no longer alive. Their spy, Akatsuki Uchiha Itachi, has been killed. Nara Shikamaru, a prodigy in all things strategy, has been dead for a while. Orochimaru's bases in Rice Country and around the world have been destroyed. With the loss of this country's capital, Konoha will be next, and anyone who gets in our way will be run over, Shao Kahn exclaimed, the fire daimyo sputtering in surprise. This is impossible for you. It is forbidden by me, exclaimed the fire daimyo before being struck by the back of Shao Kahn's hand once more. Fool. You dare to say such a thing to me? To everyone? What gives you the right to say that? What kind of power could you possibly have to stop us? Shao Kahn was challenged before looking at the army representing Fire Country and the daimyo lying at his feet in front of him. This land's daimyo is me. You are on my property. My word is law in this situation, exclaimed the fire daimyo angrily, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear. Your words are about to be silenced, Shao Kahn said as he swung his wrath hammer down on the fire daimyo's head, causing blood to spray everywhere. Suigetsu grinned and said, nice. Only you would adore Suigetsu Baka. It's either blood or swords with you, I swear, Suigetsu scowled at Karen as she commented. Says the girl with no real chest and who hasn't been able to see Shao Kahn's sword samas like some of the other women in his life, Suigetsu remarked before being punched in the head and turning into water. Asshole! Yelled Karen, shaking her fist at him. What a flat chest! Suigetsu fired back. Sword enthusiast! Exclaimed Karen. At the very least, I have a sword. "It is not my fault that you are afraid to touch one," Suigetsu shot back, Karen's face red with rage at the innuendo. While this was going on, Shao Kahn decided to address the remaining troops of the now dead Fire Daimyo, who were unsure what to do now that their leader was no longer alive. Who here wants to follow in the footsteps of the late Fire Daimyo? You have the option of fleeing like cowards. You can fight on, knowing that the end result will be death as your reward. Or you can come along with us. Choose your fate, and choose wisely. Shao Kahn observed the samurai in front of him, who were now looking at him or at each other, unsure what to do. They debated until they reached an agreement. We offer you our services. Kan-sama Shao, one samurai replied before kneeling in front of him, and the others followed suit in perfect unison. You chose wisely, exclaimed Shao Kahn, before laughing. Konoha a little later. He's arrived. I can sense it, Tsunade remarked from her office in the Hokage Tower, where Danzo, Homura, and Kaharu stood a few feet behind her. We've lost contact with our outposts on the outskirts of the village. There has also been no communication from the capital. We must assume it is gone. Konoha is currently the only part of Fire Country that is still intact, Tsunade nodded as Kaharu spoke. We are now the only survivors of Fire Country. We are now Fire Country. Danzo stated it as if it were the most obvious thing in the world and should have been obvious from the start. Tsunade saw and heard explosions at the village wall from her position on all sides, with Konoha shinobi rushing to repel the enemy. It's time to put an end to this nonsense, Tsunade said before opening the window and leaping out. Streets of Konoha. Shao Kahn found the bloodlust he'd felt before reaching a boiling point as he slaughtered every Konoha shinobi in his path. Many in the opposition believed that if they could kill him, the rest of his allies would fall, retreat, or surrender in the hope of receiving some form of mercy. What they didn't expect, even after all this time, was that Shao Kahn would not be some weakling they could beat up like they did Uzumaki Naruto as a child. He wasn't some hyperactive, blonde jerk who was constantly proclaiming that he would be Hokage regardless of what the village threw at him. He wasn't gullible. He was not dense, stupid, childish, or any of the other adjectives used to describe the boy Konoha tried to break and kill for well over a decade at the start of the boy's life. No. They were up against a conqueror, a former emperor, and now a daimyo from another country. They were fighting the person who had killed the Dragon King. They were up against someone who had nearly defeated the Elder Gods. They were going up against Shao Kahn. Fist expansion jutsu, exclaimed Choji before enlarging his fist and throwing it at Shao Kahn, who easily dispatched it with one mighty swing of his wrath hammer. Try again, exclaimed Shao Kahn, followed by a laugh. Let's see if you can do this instead. Shitenshin no jutsu. Ino said this as she planned to take over his mind and turn him against his own forces. Begin with Hinata. Fool. Shao Kahn murmured before feeling her invade his mind and smirking evilly seconds later. From Shao Kahn's mind. Time to do some serious damage, Ino thought to herself as she attempted to take command of Shao Kahn's body, but was quickly grabbed by a group of red-haired individuals who pushed her down to her knees. Ino, you were a fool to try that. You challenged not only me, but every soul of the Uzumaki clan within me, when you entered here to take possession of my body. You will now pay the price for your actions, Shao Kahn stated with his wrath hammer in his hand as if it were outside, and Ino struggled to break free. Wait. You are not required to do this. Ino pleaded, Shao Kahn frowning at her. I'm not even within striking distance of you, and you're already pleading for your life. In my absence, the leaf has made my generation weak and spineless, Shao Kahn remarked before stopping right in front of her and seeing the woman crying. Naruto, hurry up. I don't despise you. Really. I was simply carrying out orders. My parents instructed me to despise you. The rest of the village did as well. I didn't have a choice. I had my own life to consider. If I had defied the village, I would have been completely alone. Shao Kahn narrowed his eyes at Ino's response. First and foremost, my name is Shao Kahn. Never call me Naruto again. You are unworthy to even mention the boy's name. Second, you wouldn't have been on your own. Naruto would have stood by you regardless. You must now pay the price for your decision, Shao Kahn replied as he prepared to strike Ino down. I apologize. Are you sure? I sincerely apologize. I'll do anything to make amends. Ino begged, knowing that if she died here, she would die in the real world. Is there anything else? Well, I suppose I could always have another devoted concubine in my bedchambers. Shao Kahn stated that Ino had a great body and it would be a shame to waste it. Shao Kahn grabbed the front of Ino's head and poured his power into her mind before she could say anything. He overpowered the woman's thought process, her reasoning, and took away any remaining loyalty Ino had for Konoha. He was going to make the woman his property and treat her as such until she was more than just a means of keeping his bed warm at night. Shao Kahn let go of Ino's head, and she slumped forward for a second before looking up at him, her eyes semi-glazed. What is your command, Shao Kahn-sama? Ino asked in a submissive obedient tone as the souls of the Uzumaki clan that had been holding her down freed her. Return to your body and kill any Konoha shinobi who opposes us. You are now mine, Shao Kahn replied, and Ino nodded. Yes, master, Ino said before leaving his mind and missing Shao Kahn's smirking before it turned into a full-fledged laugh. In the real world. Ino? Come on, Ino. Get up. We must flee here before we are overrun. We must regroup before it is too late. Choji exclaimed as he lifted Ino's body and felt her return to it. Yes. Regroup, Ino whispered as she secretly drew a kunai from her holster and slashed Choji in the neck. Ack. Ino? What? Why? As he gasped, Choji grabbed his now bleeding neck in shock, and noticed the change in her. By Shao Kahn orders, Sama's all Konoha shinobi must die, Ino explained before stabbing her one-time friend in the head with the kunai she used to slice into his neck. Shao Kahn focused his attention on Inuzuka Kiba, who attempted to attack him 2-on-1 with his dog partner Akamaru. Hinata then appears between them and uses Kaiten to send the pair flying back into a building. Hinata moved forward, not looking back at the man she loved, striking one shinobi after the other with deadly gentle fist precision, proving her worth not only to herself, but also to Shao Kahn. After all that had happened since joining his side and unleashing her skills on Konoha's forces, she didn't think she needed to. Hinata-sama, you've grown stronger. It's a shame the one deserving of being our clan's heiress chose to betray it for him. Neji said as the two stared each other down. I'd rather be a traitor to the clan than a traitor to my heart, Neji, Hinata countered, as Neji scowled at her. We'll see how strong your heart is after I blow it up, Neji said before the battle. Not unless I first make yours explode. Though, given how small it is. Like another part of your body, this may prove difficult, Hinata countered as she matched him move for move, seeing Neji grow angrier. And how would you know about that? Neji demanded angrily, while Hinata smirked and smacked him in the chest with a palm thrust. When Tenten got drunk and I was with her on Akunoichi's night out, she talked a lot. More specifically, how should I phrase how you can't perform well and what you lack in size to make her? Are you content in bed? Hinata mocked, having learned from Shao Kahn that mocking someone where they know it hurts the most can cause them to become angry and make mistakes in battle. Neji was red with rage, embarrassment, and humiliation over Tenten's remark to other kunoichi while they were out one night. Worse, she said it while drunk, and everyone knows that when someone is drunk, they lose all restraints in expressing themselves. They also tended to speak the truth or their own versions of the truth based on their observations of other people. That is, if a drunk Tenten said he was a poor lover in bed, chances are she meant it and would not apologize for saying such things if they had another verbal argument. If they had another verbal squabble. Shao Kahn, on the other hand, was fighting off several Junin before coming to a halt when he saw the young versions of Sarutobi Hiruzen, Shimura Danzo, and Senju Tsunade. Two of the three were glaring at him, while the third looked at him emotionlessly and with a hint of ambition. "You've got a lot of guts coming here, brat. You will be held accountable for your actions against us and Konoha," Tsunade said, smirking at Shao Kahn. "It's ironic that you'd refer to this village as if it were the one being betrayed." "There are those who would disagree," Shao Kahn remarked before sensing a Junin approaching from the right and easily knocking the foolish man away. "You betray Fire's will. You will die solely for that reason," Hiruzen added, with Shao Kahn chuckling before breaking into full-fledged laughter. "Is that correct? Again, it's amusing that you'd bring up your prized will of fire in this manner. Some argue that you betrayed it in the same way that you betrayed the true Konoha," Shao Kahn replied before snapping his fingers, and three shinobi from the past met the stunned three shinobi from the present. "Hello there, Hiruzen. Your appearance may have changed, but your eyes reveal that you are as old as ever." Hiruzen was surprised to see his sensei here, so Hashirama replied with a scowl. "Hello there, Danzo. I still see the greedy fool I saw years ago. I would have thrown you and Hiruzen against the enemy instead of myself if I had known what you would do and become. But, knowing your aversion to death, I doubt you would have stayed to fight them. In fact, in exchange for being spared, you would have joined the enemy," Tobirama remarked, while Danzo scowled at the insult. "Hello there, Tsunade. To think that someone of my bloodline from the Uzumaki clan outside of Kushina would betray us in this way. Tsunade, you've become a disgrace to the Senju and Uzumaki clans," Mito remarked, with Tsunade furious and tears welling up around her eyes. "You have no right to bring them back from the dead. You desecrator of life." Tsunade yelled angrily. Shao Kahn smirked. "As if you're the type to talk, Tsunade. Or any of those nearby. If anyone is to blame, it should be Orochimaru for taking such an interest in the Edo Tensei. When I took his soul, I absorbed all of his knowledge and acted accordingly. Besides, my bringing them back differs from what he did during the old monkey's staged invasion," Shao Kahn replied before explaining how he got those three back, and their faces were filled with shock and horror. "You assassinated my two students and sacrificed their souls to the Shinigami. You were completely wrong," Hiruzen declared before taking a step back when Hashirama took a step forward. "Hiruzen, you had no right to betray what I taught you. You had no right to turn your back on my teachings or the Uzumaki clan. My wife's family." Hashirama yelled angrily. "Sensei I!" exclaimed Hiruzen before being blindsided by the former Shodem Hokage's palm thrust to the stomach. "You are no longer a student of mine. The boy I trained and taught the will of fire to years ago is no longer alive. He is not you. You are a perverse abomination," exclaimed Hashirama as he charged after Hiruzen, who was being pushed back by the former Hokage. "I understand that one should not enjoy fighting and killing others. But in your case, Shimura Danzo, I will gladly make an exception regarding your end," said Tobirama before rushing to attack Danzo, who quickly revealed his Sharingan eye behind his bandages, as well as a special arm with Hashirama's cells mixed in with the grafted Sharingan eyes. You are not my sensei anymore. Hiruzen and Tsunade may be hesitant to strike those close to them, but I am not weak enough to back down when the time comes. You should have just declared me Hokage all those years ago, Danzo said before the two clashed. I am aware of your actions, Danzo. Of your methods for creating root and removing people's emotions. Tell me, if you died, how would you expect your emotionless, mindless drones to function? Or did you design it so that Konoha couldn't function without you as its leader? That the village would die with you? Tobirama asked before shooting compressed balls of water at Danzo, one of which pierced his chest before phasing out and reforming. With one of the Sharingan in his arms, he closed his eyes. My name is Konoha. I am the will of fire, Danzo declared, his voice tinged with arrogance. Fire represents passion. Fire is emotion manifested. How can you claim to be the will of fire if your heart or actions are devoid of emotion? Danzo, you are poison. Tobirama declared, that is what you are, noting what his attack did, should have done, and what Danzo did before noticing the man had one less grafted Sharingan eye open on the arm. I don't need to justify myself to you, sensei. You are an antiquity. It is out of date. The world has changed, and so have I from the weak frail human you knew, Danzo said before being hit by another blast of water and phasing out before returning unharmed. You're correct. You've evolved. You're no longer a person. You remind me of Hiruzen. It's an abomination. Something strange. You have devolved into something with no purpose in this world other than to take what does not belong to you. Tobirama declared before moving in for close combat, the only fitting thing left to do is end your life. She's entirely yours, Mito. Perhaps Tsunade will finally be humbled before dying at your hands, Shao Kahn remarked as Tsunade prepared to shoot fire from her eyes. Confront him, grandmother. You belong to the Uzumaki clan. Fight his control. Exclaimed Tsunade, before Mito's face turned stone-faced with rage. Did you already forget about my so-called granddaughter? I have complete control over my body. I may have to obey certain orders from Shao Kahn-sama, but nothing with which I disagree. Specifically, ending your life, Mito said before charging forward and punching Tsunade in the face, sending the blonde woman flying. It was obvious where Tsunade got her super strength move from. Now to face the stupid woman who decided having a son was more of a burden than a blessing, Shao Kahn remarked before fighting his way to the one place he knew his so-called mother. The Hokage Memorial. Elsewhere right now. Where are you going, Uchiha? Asked Naruto, as Sasuke turned to walk away from the fighting. Away. This village will be destroyed. Why should I stay and defend this vulnerable point? Sasuke responded as if he owed Konoha nothing. Considering everything they've given you? Is that all they've taught you? Have you received all of your jutsus? All of your abilities? You won't defend the place that taught you everything? Asked Naruto, as Sasuke frowned even more. I owed them everything they taught me. My clan was destroyed. It's only fair that they give me whatever I want in exchange. I have no reason to stay and support them now that they have nothing left to offer, Sasuke replied before continuing to walk away. That's typical Uchiha. I'm fleeing like a coward. Your brother should have killed you when he had the chance, said Sabaku no Gaara, who was hovering over the two on a cloud of sand and made Sasuke freeze in place at the mention of his brother. You know nothing, freak, snarled Sasuke, allowing himself a smirk. I know your brother was killed by Shao Kahn. Isn't that bothering you? That your goal of vengeance for your clan was taken away from you? With Sasuke's eyes narrowing, Gaara inquired. What did you just say? demanded Sasuke, Gaara's smirk growing as he realized he had irritated the Uchiha. Sasuke, you heard me. Your brother is no longer alive. Shao Kahn assassinated him. Or as you once knew him. Uzumaki Naruto, Gaara replied, Sasuke's eyes now filled with rage. Perhaps I should kill him right now. Unless. You're going to stop me? Sasuke asked, shaking his head. I doubt you can kill him, Sasuke. You would have killed him already if you could have. Konoha would have let you do it, Gaara observed, with Sasuke staring him down. Konoha is completely clueless. And neither do you, Sasuke said before departing to confront his brother's killer. What about you? What will you do? Gaara asked, as Naruto looked at him with an unreadable expression before fleeing in a flurry of leaves. Along with Hinata and Neji. Hinata watched her cousin with cold eyes as he panted, his clothing torn, covered in blood, and appeared to be about to collapse. It reminded him of a time when they were standing like this, but the situation was reversed, and Hinata was the one who had been badly injured in their fight in the Chunin exam preliminaries. How do you feel, Neji? What does it feel like to be the one who is dominated by blood and a sense of inferiority? That's what you assumed I was during the Chunin exams. A helpless inferior being. It's incredible what hard work and determination can accomplish for someone like me. Where has your fire gone? What is your passion? Have you ever had it? Or did you just hand it over to fate for skin-deep strength? Hinata inquired before witnessing Neji become enraged and move to strike despite the fact that it was slow and readable. Stop talking. You have no idea. Even after all this time, you have no idea how much pain and loss I have endured at the hands of the main family. At Hiyashi command. Sama's at your own peril with your inability to fight when it mattered the most.
Raged Neji as he attempted to strike Hinata, but his arms were blocked, and the woman quickly retaliated by striking the points around his shoulders before the limbs exploded violently.
I know more than you can imagine. My mother died because she did not want to raise her daughters in an arrogant household. She didn't want us to grow up in a loveless family. Did you know she was forced to marry my so-called father? That the only thing she could control, or try to control, was how I and later Hanabi were raised. You did not. It never occurred to you that I could be a victim just like you. Living without a mother was difficult for me. A woman who loved me but was raised by a clan that despised me simply because I did not agree with all of their archaic and barbaric clan policies. You, on the other hand, were loved by the clan regardless of whether or not you were a branch member. You followed procedure. You grew stronger as a result, and as a result, you were loved and supported by the clan. They used your father's death to shape you into the monster who stands before me. My only regret is that I was unable to help you see the light again, but given how blind you are as a result of our clan's schemes, even I cannot perform such miracles. Goodbye, Neji, Hinata said, arching her hand back and striking Neji across the face with chakra coursing through her fingertips. Hinata-sama. Forgive me, Neji mumbled before collapsing. Neji, you had your chance at forgiveness. I'm done giving you, Hinata said before heading out to fight more shinobi. In collaboration with Hashirama and Hiruzen. Senju Hashirama didn't appear to be out of breath. There was not a single strand of hair out of place. There was no tearing of cloth or damage to the armor. He was unharmed in any way. Sarutobi Hiruzen sat across from him. His former student and the former Sandaime Hokage when he was young. Both had witnessed and survived war. Both had overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. During their reign as Hokage of Konoha, both were known as Kami no Shinobi. Unlike Senju Hashirama, Sarutobi Hiruzen's body did not appear to be in good shape. On the contrary, Hiruzen had the unfortunate opportunity to answer a what-if based question about who would win a fight for the title of Kami no Shinobi between the two. As it stood, the fight was not in Hiruzen's favor, and he needed the help of his trusted summons Enma in his tenacious staff form. Hiruzen, this feels like a replay of history. Only this time, your age will not be an excuse when I kill you and the Shinigami collects on the soul you cheated him on, Hashirama said, with Hiruzen scowling at him and blood dripping from the side of his mouth. How can you pass such harsh judgment on me, sensei? All I've ever done is try to make Konoha the best village in the elemental countries. For all time, you were unopposed. So what if an ally here or a friend there is killed or killed? Hiruzen exclaimed, Konoha is the only village that should matter. Before swinging his staff at Hashirama, but the man simply blocked it by raising his arm. I can pass judgment on you because I know you understood what I believe the will of fire was and what it truly meant. Instead, you took what I taught and discarded it. And for what purpose? Power? Control? Ending the lives of people who did not conform to your way of doing things simply because they were content with their lives as they were. You murdered my grandson Nawaki because he did not think like you or the other Konoha residents. You betrayed the Uzumaki clan because they were a threat to Konoha when in reality, that was the furthest thing from the truth, and you know it, Hashirama said before making tree branches rise from the ground and trap Hiruzen while Enma was kicked away from him. They posed a threat. You and the Uzumaki clan were holding the Kyuubi as if it were yours to use or not use as you pleased. Jinchuriki are deadly weapons. Weapons of war. They are intended to function as one until the day they die. Mito intended to return to Whirlpool in her later years when she could no longer control the fox. To put it another way, Uzumaki would prefer to stay in Whirlpool rather than Konoha. Konoha would have fallen without a Jinchuriki, and they knew it. Exclaimed Hiruzen angrily before being backhanded in the face by Hashirama. They would not have treated the next Jinchuriki like a weapon, unlike you and the rest of Konoha. As for keeping Konoha safe, the Uzumaki clan was this village's ally, which means they would have helped during a war, Hashirama countered as Hiruzen spit blood from his mouth. Please. An ally is only as reliable as the side they choose to support. Do you think the Uzumaki clan would have remained our steadfast ally if they had known what I and the others had in store for Konoha? What did we intend to do to the world once we were too powerful to oppose? They would have broken away from their alliance and joined our enemies to defeat us with their Jinchuriki. So we did a preemptive strike and took them out of the equation. Raged Hiruzen before being backhanded again. You committed near genocide against a clan that was the only one capable of retaining the Kyuubi in the first place. When you ran out of Uzumaki clan members, what happened? At the time, all you had was Kushina, and she could only give Konoha so many children in her youth. Besides, given the Uzumaki Bloodwaters, her children's children would not have been able to hold the fox. They can't contain the fox within themselves, making it impossible for them to be Jinchuriki in any way. Of course, you knew this because Tsunade was less than half Uzumaki and couldn't be one, Hashirama replied, with Hiruzen staring at him. We would have discovered the survivors. Those of the Uzumaki bloodline could be found almost anywhere in the elemental countries. It wouldn't be impossible to find them and use them however we wanted, Hiruzen said before Hashirama grabbed his face and squeezed it. You would have reduced them to shadows of their former selves, Sarutobi. They are only intended to be used as Kyuubi holders. Sent to fight and die with not even a thank you. They drew breath every day while living a lie and in pain. And for what purpose? So Konoha would maintain its dominance at the expense of a clan that had once considered this village an ally. More importantly, they welcomed us with open arms, and you made sure Konoha got close enough to stab them in the back with a kunai without them noticing. Sarutobi, I have no sympathy for you. I have no sympathy for you. Goodbye, Hashirama said before snapping the man's neck and violently crushing his skull. In collaboration with Tobirama and Danzo. You lack of eyes on your arm tells me you can't keep this up forever, Danzo, Tobirama observed as he noticed Danzo's special arm had lost a number of Sharingan eyes. I have plenty to replace them, Danzo countered, confident that his route could find a competent doctor to perform the surgery in the event that Tsunade was killed in this battle. Yes. Your plentiful supply of Sharingan eyes is buried. They won't be able to survive today. They are being destroyed by our spies here in Konoha even as we speak, and will be of no use to you, Tobirama remarked, Danzo scowling. And who, may I ask, are these so-called spies? Danzo wondered, intrigued by how someone could infiltrate his organization within Konoha. Let's just say Hiruzen's bloodline can be just as treacherous as he is with the Uzumaki clan, Tobirama replied cryptically, as Danzo's eyes narrowed before widening in surprise. No. Him? Are the other two brats in on it as well? Homura and Kaharu's offspring? Tobirama smirked as she questioned Danzo. What are your thoughts, my old student? Tobirama asked before a split second later he was in front of Danzo with a palm strike to the face, crushing the Warhawk's skull, only to phase and reappear unharmed. I believe it is past time to see who is better at using the Senju bloodline. Danzo remarked as he released large tree branches from the ground and had them move to trap Tobirama in their bind. Impressive. You must have practiced using this power in your spare time. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to use it effectively, Tobirama observed as he dodged left and right to avoid the branches. You're not going to win, Tobirama-sensei. I have outperformed all of my peers. I was no match for you, your brother, or even the former Yondaime. In all but name, I am the true Hokage of Konoha. Something you denied me for years. Something I'll take once this war is over and Konoha and the rest of the world are mine. Exclaimed Danzo as he saw his sense about to be trapped before vanishing 1 second and reappearing behind the once crippled man the next. You forget, Danzo, everything you know was taught to you by me and my brother. But we didn't teach either of you everything, Tobirama said as he stabbed Danzo in the back of the head with a kunai. And the process Danzo used to cheat death, the Izanagi, occurred once more, with the man appearing unharmed from the kill. Die and stay dead. Exclaimed Danzo as he struck Tobirama with his sword that had once been hidden within his cane, but the former Nidaime Hokage easily stopped it by grabbing the hand and ripping the sword out of it. Prior to stabbing Danzo through the heart, Izanagi's power once again saved him. This is becoming tedious, Danzo. I know the Uchiha were notorious for coping with everything, but this is ridiculous, Tobirama said, smirking at Danzo. I am invincible as long as I have the Sharingan, Danzo replied before feeling pain in his special arm and seeing a seal on his body in the exposed part of his limb. Which is why I made sure the seal on you takes them away, Tobirama remarked, having learned from Shao Kahn what Danzo had up his sleeve with all the Sharingan eyes grafted to one arm and the one hidden behind the bandages. Danzo had no idea his own root shinobi would be the ones to provide crucial information to his enemies. What have you done to me? Danzo demanded before his body became weak and on fire at the same time. When Shao Kahn-sama told us about your Sharingan eyes and my brother's cells in your body, Mito created this seal. I was just playing with you to reduce the number of eyes you had so it would work faster when applied. This seal attacks your body's internal systems, purging them of anything unnatural, much like an antidote does for a poison. Because over 40% of your body is unnatural, I'm sure you're in a lot of pain and finding it difficult to move right now. Also, the seal on your chest that will cause you to explode and take your opponent down with you? That is also being neutralized because it is an unnatural element on your body, Tobirama explained, as Danzo clutched his heart and glared at him, vision in his one eye with the Sharingan going dark. You're a jerk, Tobirama-sensei. Damn you and your family to hell. Exclaimed Danzo as he looked at his arm and noticed that all of the eyes on it were closed, and the arm itself had turned purplish, with the colorization spreading up to his shoulder. The ability to use the Izanagi was taken away. Your words are meaningless, Danzo. Your conspirators Kaharu and Homura will soon join you and Hiruzen in the hell you wish to damn me to if I die again. If I ever die. The root shinobi you have in Konoha will also be joining you, so die knowing that your time in hell will not be lonely, Tobirama replied, with Danzo now letting out a silent scream as his body began to melt halfway, deforming and slowly killing the man. Tobirama simply looked the dying man in the eyes, without pity or sadness, while Danzo became just another corpse, his soul going to the Shinigami. Tsunade and Mito. I should have disciplined you when you were a brat years ago. Your grandfather, on the other hand, would never allow it. Mito exclaimed, he loved and spoiled you too much. As she continued to land punch after punch and kick after kick on Tsunade, who had the fighting style of a brawler. The woman never refined her taijutsu because she didn't see the point when one punch with her super strength was enough to hurt someone. Unfortunately, Tsunade's decision had been the deciding factor in her being beaten so badly by Mito. Mito was not only a great seal master of her time, being an Uzumaki, but her taijutsu skills made Maeda Gaia look like a green fresh genin straight out of the academy. Tsunade felt a bone break, an organ rupture, internal bleeding, and many other horrible painful things Mito inflicted on the human body with each blow Mito landed. Mito, please halt. I'm the child of your child. This is cruel, Tsunade objected, remembering how much she adored Mito and her grandfather as a child. Sure, she was going down a road they didn't approve of, but weren't her personal desires in life more important than what they wanted after they died? Who cares if you are? Naruto belonged to the Uzumaki clan. On my side of the family, it's the same as you. Nonetheless, you scorned him. He was betrayed. And for what purpose? Because he was a Jinchuriki, perhaps? Because his parents questioned you as well? Kushina was the one who came before him. Minato also became a Jinchuriki after absorbing half of Kurama and fleeing with his wife and daughter that night. You despised Naruto from the moment you met him until he reappeared as someone else. Tsunade, you talk about being cruel to you, but what exactly is true cruelty? You betrayed your grandfather, the Senju clan, the Uzumaki clan, Naruto, your former lover Dan, your own brother, and, most importantly, me. You betrayed us all for power, to reverse your age in order to stay young, and for conquest in this pointless war you started in the insane belief that the gods above were on your side. That is cruelty, Tsunade, Mito said before punching her granddaughter in the face. It was for the betterment of Konoha. Everyone I betrayed was simply extra baggage. What did they each bring to the table? How about Konoha? Nothing. They were ineffective. Nawaki was too innocent. Dan was as well. It was better for them to die than to live in the world Konoha was creating. Tsunade replied, as for betraying you and grandfather, you were both dead, and I was never one to believe in following dead people, before being picked up off the ground by Mito and looking into the angry Uzumaki woman's eyes. I'm fully awake now, Tsunade. Which is more than I can say for you in the next few seconds, Mito said before punching her fist through Tsunade's chest and ripping out the woman's heart. Mito ba! Tsunade exclaimed as she stared at Mito, holding the bloody organ in her hand. You are not my grandchild. Tsunade, farewell. Be glad I said that much to you, Mito said as he walked away from the dead woman on the ground. Along with Shao Kahn. Good day, Sasuke. Did you miss me? Shao Kahn wondered as he made his way up the long flight of stairs leading to the top of the Hokage monument. Like I'd miss a loser like you, Sasuke remarked, hoping to enrage Shao Kahn. A slacker like me? And how exactly, Sasuke? How can I be a loser when I helped make all of this happen? Shao Kahn asked, motioning with his hand to the violent fighting below them. You're just a loser. It makes no difference what you've done or what you've accomplished. You will always be a loser in my eyes. A piece of trash that should have been discarded. All that matters is my opinion. After all, I am a Uchiha elite, and a Uchiha's word has always been absolute, Sasuke said arrogantly. Says the only remaining Uchiha in existence, Shao Kahn remarked, deflating Sasuke's sense of superiority. I know you were the one who killed Itachi. You were the one who robbed me of my right to avenge my clan, Sasuke said in a way that was meant to intimidate his foe and reveal he knew the secret. Of course you're aware, fool. Gaara was tasked with finding and informing you of this. What? You thought I was going to keep it a big secret? That I'd hide it from you? Don't make me laugh, Sasuke, Shao Kahn countered, a grin on his face. Once I kill you, I'll take everything you own. I will erase your clan from history and make mine the greatest in the world, Sasuke declared, smirking at Shao Kahn. Such big talk for someone who fled his big bad brother when the rest of the Uchiha clan was being destroyed, mocked Shao Kahn, with Sasuke looking enraged and his Sharingan eyes now visible. At least my family loved me, Sasuke replied, Shao Kahn scowling now with his smoldering crimson eyes as they shifted into the Rinnegan. And you thought it was yours, Sasuke? The only reason they would ever love you, if you can call it that in your clan, is because you had the opportunity to awaken your Sharingan, and you did. But consider this, Sasuke. What if you never unlocked your Sharingan? Were you still loved? Would you still be referred to as a Uchiha? All of your clan's members who don't open their eyes are considered second-class citizens at best, and inferior at worst, Shao Kahn replied, Sasuke's eyes narrowing. It makes no difference. All that matters is that I have the Sharingan. Sakura and every other bitch in Konoha will soon give me an army of children whether they want to or not, Sasuke remarked before drawing his sword and charging at Shao Kahn. Only for Shao Kahn to raise his free hand in the direction of Uchiha. Shinra Tensai! Exclaimed Shao Kahn, as Sasuke was violently thrown back against the cliff wall, leaving a full-body indentation. What? What was that? Demanded Sasuke, despite the fact that his body was in pain, as he had never felt anything like it before today, and forced his body out of the cliff wall. That was the Rinnegan's power. Above all others, the supreme dojutsu. Including your pitiful Sharingan eyes, Shao Kahn replied, with Sasuke looking angrier than ever. You dare to insult the Sharingan? Exclaimed Sasuke as he shaped the Rakiri in his hand. Not only would I insult your Sharingan, but I would insult you, your clan, and your very manhood every day for the rest of my life, Sasuke. If it wasn't so easy that I'd get bored after the first day, that is. And what about Sakura carrying your child one day? Let's just say I've already taken care of her, Shao Kahn said, leaving Sasuke stunned. Backstory before the invasion. Suigetsu. Karen. I have an assignment for both of you, Shao Kahn said, staring at the Konoha walls. What do you want me to do, boss? Suigetsu asked, carrying Zabuza's massive sword on his shoulders. "What do you require, my lord?" Karen politely asked, giving Suigetsu a small glare for the disrespect she felt he showed Shao Kahn. To the east of the Hokage Tower is an orphanage. It was where Uzumaki Naruto spent his first 8 years of life. A place where he was despised, scorned, and abused by those in charge as well as the other children in exchange for extra privileges for doing a good job of hurting him. "Suigetsu, that is your destination. Take Gurren with you," Shao Kahn said, Suigetsu adjusting his sword and smiling. "I see. And, on a scale of 1 to 10, how badly do you want this place messed up?" Suigetsu asked, with the 1 being restraint in killing only a select few and the 10 being total annihilation of everyone inside. Shao Kahn looked at the man with a knowing look that made the swordsman nervous for a second. "I see." Suigetsu mumbled, 10 it is. "And my orders, my lord?" Karen inquired, as Shao Kahn turned to face her and handed the woman a photograph. "This is your objective. Find her while the fighting is going on. Look for the target in the village using your sensory abilities. Find out something about her, and regardless of the answer. End the bitch," Shao Kahn said coldly. "And what exactly am I looking for in terms of the target, Shao Kahn-sama?" Karen inquired before he revealed. Suigetsu whistled after a brief moment of silence. "Damn. And here I thought I was cruel," Suigetsu murmured before Shao Kahn's gaze shifted away from him. "Today is the end of the Uchiha bloodline. There are no exceptions. Kill the target and proceed to the hospital to obtain all records pertaining to Uchiha Sasuke. Consider any woman who may have had Senju Tsunade implant his seed in her. When you're looking through his file, Karen, make a lot of shadow clones. It'll be a long list," Shao Kahn predicted, while Karen simply nodded. "I understand, my lord," Karen replied respectfully. "I have one more thing for you, Suigetsu. I almost forgot to mention that there is a ramen stand to the south of the orphanage. It's small, but not unnoticeable. It is a family-owned and operated business. They sold poisoned and drug-laced ramen meant to weaken, if not kill, Uzumaki Naruto," Shao Kahn said, with Suigetsu nodding. "Got it. What do you want them to do when they die? Is it quick and painless? Or the other, less quick and painless option?" Suigetsu inquired before Shao Kahn gave him another cold stare with narrowed angry eyes, causing the swordsman to gulp nervously once more. "Right. What a stupid question to ask. Sorry about that, boss. The other way around. Why am I not surprised?" Suigetsu thought to himself as Shao Kahn turned his gaze to the village walls in front of him. Flashback concludes. "Die!" yelled Sasuke as he charged toward Shao Kahn, clearly intending to kill him. Only for the much larger man to easily catch the limb covered in lightning, unaffected by it in the least, and easily break Uchiha's arm. As he was lifted off the ground and slammed into the cliffside multiple times before slamming the man head first into the stone steps, Sasuke screamed in pain, his arms soon bent at an awkward angle. With the Uchiha defeated, Shao Kahn simply placed his massive foot on his former teammate's skull for a brief moment. "You first, Uchiha," Shao Kahn remarked before crushing the man's skull like a grape under the amount of pressure applied to it. With that minor annoyance out of the way, Shao Kahn walked up the stairs to his destination. For the first time since his return to this realm, he was going to meet his mother.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.